What's up, everybody? We got a new show set in the Terminal List universe with Chris Pratt and more of the cast returning. Let's dive into the first 3 episodes. I gotta be honest here before I get into my review of these episodes, as big a fan as I was of Taylor Kish in the first season of Terminal List and also in True Detective Season 2, a season that I found out I enjoy far more than most, I still wasn't sure about this show. It's a prequel going back 7 years, and going in, I've been, at best because of that, cautiously optimistic. But, just like that first episode of the main show, Dark Wolf starts with a bang as the first firefight was incredible. That was one thing that I wasn't worried about though. With this spin-off, between the firefight to start the main show to Reese's attack on Horn later in the season, they've been consistently great from this team, and this bridge attack keeps that going. The same could be said about the camaraderie between not only Ben and Reese, but all four of the main SEALs, at least for the time that we're with them here in the first couple episodes. For me, it actually boosts the main show a bit, which I already enjoyed, by the way, and of course, that's kind of the point of a prequel to an extent. Just seeing how they're all, truly a part of Reese's family back home too was nice. Then, and I don't think this show is the best example of this necessarily, but I do think the show has done at least a decent job of not glorifying war. We still get to see the camaraderie of the strongest brotherhood on the planet, but for every great moment that we get with the frogs, we see the price they paid too. Every mission they go on, we feel the everlasting tension. Both shows have done a great job in that area. Also, and I hesitate to even bring this up, but whatever, it feels pretty in your face in the episode. It very much felt like we were kind of doing a Bin Laden comparison here in episode 1. Obviously, they're in the Middle East, so it's kind of already there, but the whole "you guys can't touch him, he's CIA" thing, and then the disclaimer at the top of the episode too, and only this episode, it's not on episode 2 or 3, it's just kind of weird. Regardless, I'm assuming taking out that CIA asset is what puts Ben into that shitstorm that we find him in 7 years later, the one that lands him at the bottom of his brother's hit list. If that's the case, which it does seem to be, as we'll get into with the next 2 episodes, I'm a big fan, and my worries about the show drop significantly. I think the dominoes falling will be very compelling. With that being said, I want to move on to episode 2 here, and this one did get off to a bit of a slow start. But I will say, I think that is partially, at the very least partially, on me as a viewer, because after episode 1 and how that ends, I jump to how that goes to Ben betraying Reese and getting involved in the PTSD drug experiments from Terminal List. I wasn't thinking about, the immediate fallout, and that's given us a ton of Kish and Tom Hopper here in episode 2, which is an incredible duo. The immediate fallout has also turned out to be far more interesting than I expected it to be. That's the dominoes fallen that I just mentioned, and that, to me, is the only route for this show now. It starts with the dark ops and the finishing what you started, but eventually it becomes do whatever we want, or else, even if it lands you on Reese's hit list, and it's all in the episode title, The Audition. We also got an incredible sequence with their mission in this nightclub. Look and you'll miss it. You might think it's a John Wick movie with Taylor Kish in the red lighted nightclub, but between the undercover guards that the terrorist had in there and the self-poison from our boys' informant, it was pure chaos. Not to mention the chase through the streets afterward outside the club. The action in these shows is just so damn good in so many different ways. However, episode 2 as a whole wasn't quite as good as episode 1. It wasn't bad, far from it, and I'm still feeling so much better about this prequel after these 2 episodes. Not only that, but I do expect it to continue to get better as the dominoes continue to get knocked over in the season, so all good. Moving on to the final episode here, we got our full Dark Ops team together now, and I'm a huge fan of the potential that this group has. Kish and Hopper, they've only gotten better through episode 2, and spoiler, through episode 3. Then you've got one of the non-Chris Hemsworth boys in here too. Dar Salim is back as Mo, and you've got the 2 feisty female operatives that bring a nice spark to the boys. But honestly, as much as I've praised Kish and Hopper through the first 2 episodes, and they are the best part of the show so far, Dar Salim is still kind of the MVP of episode 3. He brings some great conflict as he's sent to take someone out, and it turns out to be the daughter of this terrorist they've been chasing. but because of his own trauma with his sisters that was caused by her father, he's not able to finish the job. I thought it was incredible. However, my immediate reaction to that scene was that he actually did finish the job. We just see the gunshot, well, hear the gunshot, and then it quickly becomes clear what's happening with the two conversations with the other teammates. But I thought, maybe there was an interesting angle there if he did finish the job. Something like, he adds on to his trauma here through these Black Ops missions, which I suppose is still possible and it probably will happen at the end of the day, but I do think we got the better outcome. Shout out Darceline. Then we got another great scene back at the house too, this one with Robert Wisdom and Taylor Kish. The cast of this show has been such a pillar through these first three episodes, and that's kind of where this prequel has the edge on its predecessor, Terminal List. It required quite a bit of carrying from Chris Pratt and Taylor Kish, but this cast is so balanced and just a solid group from top to bottom. Finally, going back to Mo, I was sweating bullets for my guy when he's posting as a terrorist at the end of this episode. This was another solid hunt that this situation brings to us, and once the hunt is flipped in our team's favor, Ish being excluded from that statement, of course, rest in peace. He doesn't make it out safe like Mo does. We get to see the best of Kish's Ben, the relentlessness, and a bit of the, recklessness. He does cover his ass with the CCTV getting down, to be fair, but these frogs, they like being on the hunt. They are not afraid to hunt alone, and their prey is almost always screwed. Overall, I thought that was a strong premiere for this prequel series, and like I said, my worries have been all but put to rest. It kept the best parts of the main show with the action and the palpable brotherhood, the insane tension, and improved on its true weakness, the cast. Funny enough, that's with less Chris Pratt, but to be honest, I don't think that's the reason why. It's just like I said, this cast is far more balanced than the other. And so that's going to do it for my review of the first three episodes of Dark Wolf. Let me know what you thought of this premiere down in the comments below and make sure you have a great day.